Hey, what's up? This is Ambidextrous here. Quite a few people have requested a video on mid-layers. This would be the layer of clothing that you would wear underneath a jacket, or if you decide to not wear a jacket, what would become your outer layer. Mid-layers will generally favour warmth over water resistance. They'll often be quite lightweight, often breathable as well. From a kind of hiking performance perspective, often you would wear a fleece for this kind of thing. In a more urban or a more streetwear, techwear scenario though, you'll often find people wearing cotton hoodies and that sort of thing for this instead. But there's a problem with that though, in that your average cotton hoodie basically has no real performance whatsoever apart from the warmth that cotton would generally bring you. So then enter two things which have the appearance or style of a hoodie or a jumper respectively, but not only boast water resistance, but some other nice little features and touches as well, which make them more of a techwear item of clothing than your average streetwear thing. So on the one hand, I have the Umoro Out 0211004, something like that, hoodie at a cost of $120, and on the other hand, I have the ONU membrane pullover at a cost of $225. Before looking at each of these individually, I think it's important to talk about the idea of a waterproof mid-layer in general. Both of these things introduce a kind of interesting idea about imbuing something which traditionally doesn't really have any kind of performance with this technical waterproof feature. These are further examples of pieces which blur the lines a little bit between streetwear and techwear. You've got things which aren't going to look out of place if you just wear them in a standard kind of streetwear fit, particularly the Umoro hoodie, and yet they have that performance which you would really only associate with techwear, and a kind of performance which really is quite rare if you compare it to all of the hoodies and jumpers and pullovers and stuff that are available on the market. Obviously they're not going to give you the same kind of protection that a jacket would, just because they don't give the same coverage, particularly the pullover since it has no hood at all, but you're going to stay a lot drier with one of these than in a traditional cotton hoodie, and that's going to stop you getting really cold really quickly, and it's going to stop you getting weighed down because cotton gets incredibly heavy as soon as it starts getting water in it. Maybe it's too warm for a jacket, maybe you just don't really want to wear one because you don't really want to do that tech ninja look, you'd rather stick to something a bit more streetwear. This still allows you to retain a little bit of that performance, and you can still wear this as a mid-layer, so you could wear this under a jacket no problem. This is quite a rare concept, I've not seen it too much, but I think there's certainly some value in that added versatility. So now let's have a little bit of a look at each one individually and see exactly what they offer in terms of aesthetics and performance. First up is the Umoro hoodie, and if this design looks familiar, that's because it's essentially an updated version of their previous hoodie, which was made of cotton. Fortunately, quite a few of the good points from an aesthetic perspective have been kept the same. It's got quite a nice little extended length with a bit of a little scoop towards the back, but it's not too overbearing. In general, it's got a little bit of a relaxed fit. It's got a cool little mock neck type thing going on as well, with a little side zip for easy access and for a little bit of added ventilation if you get a bit warm. The zip on the neck has been updated, so that's a bit thicker and more durable. I think that's a good change. It was a little bit delicate before. And of course, one of the biggest changes is that material change. Now it has this slightly neoprene-esque, scuba-like feel, which gives that waterproof resistance, of course. The inside of this is fleece-lined, so it's going to give you a little bit more warmth over and above the previous cotton version. Although I don't know what this is rated in terms of water resistance, I did give this a little bit of a test, and it seemed to repel water pretty nicely, to be honest, whilst retaining quite a good level of comfort. For a bit of added rain protection, this does have a hood on it. However, like the previous version, it is really small. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't really think this is the one for me. I just think it's too close on your head, really. But I'm sure this was designed much more with performance in mind than aesthetics. So I think if you're out doing things, you're going to appreciate having that tighter fit rather than a really big hood kind of blowing about. It's certainly not going to restrict your field of vision, for example. You can remove this via a zip at the back, so most of the time I'll probably be doing that and just wearing it like a mock neck. Luckily that zip isn't irritating or anything. I've not noticed any discomfort from having that bare zip there at the back, which is good obviously because that would potentially be a bit of a problem. But yeah, as I say, no comfort-based issues in that area. The second piece here is the ONU membrane pullover. I've got to admit I made a little bit of a sizing error on this one. I went down a size for a more athletic looking fit, and while it looks really good in photos, I think in video and moving, it's a little bit too tight for my liking, so I should have stuck to my regular size, which is a size large, so I would recommend that you guys would do the same on that. But of course, that's my mistake. I can't fault them for that one. This is a much cleaner looking piece, I think, than the Umoro version, and all those design touches that this has are very, very subtle and might not even be noticeable at first glance. For example, if you look at the sleeves here, they're actually asymmetric, so along the top half of the sleeve is a little bit longer than the bottom half, just to give you a little bit of added protection on those wrists without having baggy or extended length sleeves that interrupt the way that your hands move. There's a very clean looking kangaroo pocket on this pullover. It's not actually that noticeable, and yet it's really, really big, so you can fit loads of stuff in there. Perfect comfy place to stick your hands in as well if you ever find them getting a little bit chilly. There are a few other nice touches on this to note as well. The hem has a slight curve, more subtle than the Umoro one, but still definitely present. There are also some material changes as well between the front and the back, which give a little bit of visual interest and break up that olive colour a little bit. The material itself, though, is probably the most interesting thing about this pullover. Like the Umoro hoodie, of course, this is water resistant. However, on ONU's website, they describe this as water resistant to 12k millimeters, which is an absolutely massive amount. For reference, that's higher than my Guerrilla Group jacket, both of my Riot Division jackets, and those are outerwear pieces, and this is just a mid-layer, so it really is quite a high level. It's perhaps a little less soft on the outside than the Umoro material, but it's still extremely comfortable, and I think by touching it immediately you get a sense that this is a very unique and quite a special fabric. Personally, I don't really know exactly what to compare this to because, as I say, it is very different to anything else that I've ever experienced. That's reflected in its look as well. If you look very closely, there is a very, very subtle woven finish on this, which you might not necessarily see, especially from a distance, but looking at it close up, you can tell that this is a very interesting material with some cool tech going on in there. I have to say that special feeling that I get about the material here is something that I feel about this pullover generally. For the price, the Umoro hoodie I would describe as good quality, and this one being so much more expensive has a lot that it needs to do to justify that. But I really think that the quality on this takes things pretty much to the next level. In terms of just raw feeling of high standards, this is pretty much the best thing that I've got in my wardrobe right now. The seams are really thick, the material feels really good on the outside, and there's a totally separate inner layer as well, which again is very comfortable and is going to offer some kind of insulation. The outer material at the hem folds inward so that if it's touching other wet clothes, it's not going to make the inside of this pullover wet. All kinds of little touches like that that really feel quite minor, but are just nice touches that you might not expect with a lot of other pieces of clothing. So if that idea of super understated aesthetics combined with a surprisingly high level of performance and extremely high quality sounds of interest to you, then this ONU pullover, and I think ONU as a brand generally, is something that I would keep on your radar. So two pieces here which in many ways are quite similar and yet in some ways quite different as well, and certainly at two different price points. The Umoro, the much more affordable of the two, certainly gives more of a streetwear, a more urban kind of appearance, a little bit more flashy as well, what with that 3M branding on the arm, and it's got some cool technical details like that removable hood. I think the mock neck as well aesthetically is pretty cool too. The ONU pullover undoubtedly has a grey man kind of feel. From a distance, you probably wouldn't notice anything interesting or special about this at all. You probably just think that it's an olive coloured jumper. However, on a closer inspection, those nice little details which are specifically crafted for performance come to light, and there is that massive water resistance as well, which I really think is quite unexpected for an item of clothing that looks like this. But of course, for that absolute premium specification, you're going to have to pay a premium price as well. So the question is, of course, which one would you go for? The more streetwear aesthetic, more affordable Umoro hoodie, or that luxurious, subtle, understated, and highly water resistant ONU pullover? Both of these have their place in the techwear spectrum, but it feels like they're quite far apart in some respects. So I'd be interested to know which side of that you guys seem to fall on. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, do of course remember to give it a like, and thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Shout out to Ankit Sachdeva, who came up with another cool idea, use case rather, for using that automatic length adjustment on the Riot Division jacket from last week. And shout out to Jordan N. There will of course be more affordable techwear videos coming out in the future. I did include the Umoro hoodie in this one, which at $120 may be on the cusp of being affordable and sort of high-end price. But yeah, there will be some more cheaper things coming up for sure. If you enjoyed this video and you want to find out if I remember to do the end cards or not, then have a look up there and your question will be answered. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, but you're thinking about doing so, then you can hit that little button there and boom, done.